February 25th. Stand for the pledge. I.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to go with the wild idea that, without Mike here, Chief, you can have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you. If I knew you guys were going to be in such a good mood, I would have asked for more in my budget this year.
Do you
So,
want a pen?
Good move.
I'll kind of go through this page by page and just talk about some highlighted areas for you. So, what this budget is a level services budget. It doesn't include any new people, new officers. Basically, the increases are contractual for the most part, with a few new items on the expense side. So, under the budget summary, the total budget increase request is $103,593, which represents approximately a 2.9% increase from last year's budget. Starting under personal services, again, most of these are contractual and step increases. Under salaries, the increase there. As you know, the school provides a share of a school resource officer. Right now, we have one full-time school resource officer, and the school shares the expense 75-25. So the school pays 75% of that, and it comes out of what's called a Schedule 19. So it's taken out and placed in the budget at a different location. I pay the officer. The schools do not pay him, but it's just represented there. So my salary increase is a contractual salary increase. Overtime, I know you had questions about overtime, so I kind of wanted to spend a couple minutes on that. There is no true additional hours in overtime this year. There hasn't been for a few years. This represents just the difference in the contractual rates. Like I said a while back, there's many reasons for overtime. The most prominent reason is backfilling shifts. If somebody's out, that we backfill their shift. We have 2 officers that are expected to retire in July. So if we do not fill those, if July comes and there's nobody to backfill those positions, we start to fill overtime at a greater rate. So what we've been doing the last 2 years or 3 years is we've tried to get ahead of it by trying to hire somebody ahead of time. So we just appointed an officer last week that will start April 1st at the academy. He won't get out till September. So if somebody leaves in July, or 1 or 2 people leave in July, we are going to be down bodies until that person gets out. I actually couldn't get a second person in the academy at this time. I'm hoping to get them in July. But again, the overtime will increase, at least over the summer period, until people get out of the academy. So that's where we see the increase there. I can get into that more after I go through if you have any other questions.
Just one real quick question, Chief. On your page 2, you show your total request at $3,638,288, but on the worksheet that we have attached, it has $3,707,788.
I don't know why that is, because on the worksheet I have, it says 3638. I'll have to double check that.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure yours is right. These are, probably just starting figures.
But it's like anything else, the way we do the budget, we start it from scratch every year, and there are adjustments made and mistakes made, and we go back and fix them. So, but I'll double check that.
Okay, thanks.
What's the number you have again?
$3,707,788.
Okay, I'll double check that.
Okay.
So back on page 4, there's no increases in longevity pay. The shift pay is basically the contractual increases. No increases in fringe benefits. Incentive pay is contractual. And no increases in injury or vacancy. That's what we fill when somebody gets injured. We have filled about $13,000 or $14,000 this year through an officer that was injured. The special police, there's a slight increase basically because of a hourly wage increase that had occurred, along with the matron increase as well. So when we go over to the expense side on page 5, there's no increase on maintaining equipment or vehicles. We've actually done a real good job for a number of years about maintaining the vehicles. A lot of that's making sure that we get the proper amount of vehicles every year, new vehicles every year, so we're not spending good money after bad. Uniform and clothing, there's an increase, which is contractual. No increase in professional services or telephone. Telephone, we do work with Verizon regularly. We met with them last week to discuss, what we have for a plan and to get the best plan out there, and there's no reason to have an increase right now. Contracted services, there's an increase of $5,300 for 2 main reasons. The policy management system, we didn't pay this last year, but we paid it in year 1. This is year 3. We paid a larger portion in year 1. This is our policy management, so we put all our policies into this PMAM, and then we're able to basically email it out to officers where they have to go into the link, which is a web-based link, and review the policies, check off that they know the policies. It's actually been very, very, very good. It helps us out with accreditation on what changes we need to make as well. The new one is the investigative technology through Thomson Reuters. Years ago we used LexisNexis, and we found that it really wasn't very functional for us. So we kind of been without for a little while, and this has proved in several different investigations to be very, very worthwhile cause. The office supplies is actually a decrease of $1,000, primarily because over the last 3 years we've used less in office supplies, so that's why the decrease is there. Just a slight increase in outside services, and nothing in educational supplies, nothing in ammunition, investigative travel, in-state travel. There's a slight increase in training because the training costs have gone up. I hope that in the next couple of years it'll actually have to go down, because there was a new bill signed by the governor last year to a $2 surcharge on rental cars that will provide better police training. So we might see less classes that we have to pay for. Educational assistance. As of right now, when you go through your sheets, you'll see that we haven't used any money on this. We do have 6 officers enrolled in various programs, 5 in a master's program, 1 in a bachelor's program, and they will be requesting reimbursements in the area of $32,000 this year total. So we will need, I let the town manager know today, we will need some supplemental assistance in that account, either through reserve fund transfer or a town meeting appropriation, and that's a contractual obligation. The police academy is an increase of $2,000. It represents 1 person going to the academy. We have to pay to go to the academy. We pay $3,000 to send an officer, but then there's equipment costs and books that go along with it. So the true cost has been a little greater, and there is a little area in there because we're trying to send 2 officers a year. So although this represents 1, it's probably more like 1.5, and we've just tried to manage the budget accordingly. Under dues, there was two increases in dues this year. The Southeastern Mass Chiefs, along with the Massachusetts accreditation, that's what the $300 and $50 increase is. So, like I said, I'll double check those numbers and why that showed up like that. I don't know why.
I'm sure it's just a starting point from the town manager, so.
First line item, salaries and wages, 69,500 higher in one of our budgets.
Oh, well, I can explain that then. So what it's not included, or what I did not include is future planning and future growth. So the 69,500 would represent, and I need to talk to the town manager about this a little more. Maybe he included that in there. Is a second school resource officer, a deputy chief position, and a problem-oriented policing officer. I envision this being a half-year position for next fiscal year to get everybody, get people backfilled, and that's probably where he put that in.
But you're presenting the 3,638, 288 to us.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman? I answered my own question. Deeper in, there's another worksheet that matches your numbers.
Okay,
Yeah.
So there's one on top that shows
Yeah.
different numbers, and the one deeper in matches yours number.
okay.
All right.
So what I just told you is what, I plan to have some conversation with the town manager. So,
Chief, I got a maintenance question. Can you tell us something about that investigative service that you mentioned?
sure, so it allows us to do a lot of things. Basically, gives us a lot more information on, say, public records. We're able to run phone numbers, where people live, gather information about people, for investigative purposes. There was I'll give you an example. Today, there was a woman who had an odd text message sent to her with nobody that she knew. We were able to check that phone number to see who it came back to. So it's basically, so if you think about it, every credit agency gathers your information, and they basically sell that information to companies. And we are now purchasing that information, if you will, from a company that assists us with investigations.
So it's for law enforcement?
Mhm.
It's, that's their target? Okay, thank you.
Paul?
The deputy chief of police, you're filling that through promotion, not by adding,
Correct. When I have that further discussion with Mike, that's what it will be.
okay?
So if you will, I just wanted to talk a little bit about overtime for a minute and maybe pass out. I don't think I have enough for everybody, but maybe.
Thanks.
So on the, in particular, on the 8 to 4 shift and the 4 to 12 shift, we staff our offices at 6. So we have a desk officer, a supervisor, and 2 sidecars. One east side, northeast, one southeast, one northwest, one southwest. So on the midnight to 8 shift, we man it with 5 officers. A desk officer, center officer, 2 sidecars, and a supervisor. So if somebody, if you will, if somebody on the day shift or the 4 to 12 shift, when we're manned at 6, if they take a vacation day, holiday, sick day, training day, we will not backfill 1 shift. If 2 people are out, we will not, and it goes down to 4 officers, which is on your 3rd page, we do not backfill that shift. We'll have a desk officer, 2 sidecars, and then a supervisor. This is what we've had for 30 years plus. And I think, some people can tell you that here. So then if you go to the overtime and backfill, just a little example there is that, so if we had 5 offices, we have a desk officer, east, west, and a supervisor. I'm sorry, 4 officers. If the supervisor is out sick or vacation, that creates an overtime need. On the next page, under that same scenario, if 2 officers, and I just use it as a west side car, 2 officers are out, we backfill 2 people. So that's where the majority of our overtime will come from. We maintain 3 people on the road at all times, with the high being the 5 people. But when people start banging off the shift, vacation day, holiday, if they are scheduled for training, everybody has 40 hours of in-service plus firearms and some other specialized training to go to. So when you have 32 police officers, time starts to add up very quickly with their vacation time. So I just, I know you had some questions about that in the fall, and I just wanted to kind of go over it. That's the majority of what our overtime is spent on. A day like today, windy day, weather-related, we'll have 3 or so people holding over for late calls because of trees down. That's when overtime is, more overtime is filled on late calls. If somebody's on a scheduled day off and they are assigned to training, they get overtime for that. Just hope that kind of clears some things up.
Supervisor shift always filled by a supervisor?
No, we utilize officer in charge, so the highest ranking officer in charge will become a supervisor. Now, if a supervisor takes an overtime shift, then they're obviously the shift commander. but all our supervisors have been through supervisory training. Yeah, I made that mandatory 2 years ago, that in order to be a shift commander, you have to go through supervisor training. So it's the highest ranking officer on the shift.
Chief, what's the overtime rate? Is it time and a half like
And everybody's rate is different.
everyone? So it's their individual rate? Even if they're filling a position that may be higher, it's still their rate?
Right, and that's where when you go to like the officer in charge pay on the budget, there's a line item called shift pay. That's where that money comes out. They get a differential for being in charge.
So hypothetically, what would the perfect manpower amount be for a town this size? And where are we when it comes to that?
Well, I mean, you know, from a police officer perspective, we're at 32 full-time police officers. Mansfield's at 40, Easton's above us. They're kind of comparable towns. Certainly, I think having 4 officers on the road is what we should have, you know, at minimum. But to maintain that, it becomes costly.
Right.
And I think we've done a pretty good job of, I don't want to say limiting overtime. Overtime's always going to be there. It's just the way it is. And I'm not talking about like controlling costs, but if we haven't hired 3 people in the last couple of years, this will be double. This will be $800,000 easy to try to maintain what we have. So I think we've done a pretty good job. Certainly the winter months, you know, there's not as much time off, so we kind of have a savings during the winter months, where I think you remember last summer, when we asked for a supplemental budget at the October town meeting, we were spending a lot of money because those 3 people weren't out of the academy yet. So there's a lot more time, you know, time off, a lot more backfill of overtime.
And so those 3 are out of the academy, you just have 1 going in.
But we're gonna, you know, it's like anything else, you know, the summertime, we take 1 step forward, kind of 2 steps back, because, you know, I can't get that second person into the academy. If we have 2 retiring, we're gonna have that overlap period that, you know, we're not gonna be able to control, if you will.
How many seats are in the academy?
Well, the academies usually have run 48 officers. There is a backlog at the academy right now. One of the academies closed a couple of years ago, Boylston. That's where the log jam is. When we sent 3 officers to the State Police Academy last year, the State Police offered to do that. Currently, they actually have a recruit training troop going on now for their academy. It was actually just in the paper last week that the Cape Cod is opening up a police academy in Otis in July, and I'm hoping to get an officer into that, because they're feeling that the heat in Cape Cod, that they can't get people into the academy. They're sending people to Springfield. There's several regional academies. There's one in Plymouth, Randolph, Reading, and Springfield. And then there's other academies, Boston, MBTA, Worcester. There's one up in northern Essex. But there's 800 or so people a year that there's a need for 800 officers a year to be trained through the academy. And there is just a backlog right now. So if I don't get somebody into the academy in July, it's not going to happen until September. So then they don't get out till March. So we're going to be down 1 body during that period of time.
Yep.
So one of those shifts won't be filled at 6 people. It'll be filled at 5 people, which creates more overtime when people take the shift off.
Sure.
I never realized there's so many academies. Is there a standardized curriculum that they all follow, or?
There is. It's through the Municipal Police Training Committee.
Okay, so, that's, all right. I didn't realize
You know,
there was that many.
there's actually there's a hopeful plan to try to get 3 state-of-the-art regional academies in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, because the academies are really, I don't know, they're very outdated. They're rental space and things like that. But it's going to take years and a supplemental funding bill to do that. So.
Is it standard practice or a preference to go through the academy versus recruiting at a lateral other town?
No, we've never really, I mean, you know, there's pluses and minuses to, you need to find the right lateral transfer. You know, I don't mean anything bad by this, but you don't want to take on another department's problem. If somebody's jumping ship, you don't want to take on their problem. We have special police officers that we've always considered our Pawtucket Red Sox farm team, and we train them here, we train them our way, and we like to bring them up to become full-time officers.
Makes sense.
Chief?
So, of the $104,000 increase over your fiscal year 2019 of that request, about 69,000 of that, or the bulk of that, is this school resource officer, second school resource officer? Is
No,
all of that, am I hearing that correctly?
no.
I know that the school department the school department is carrying 75% of that cost, but it's all
That's not the
your
increase.
budget?
That's not the increase. The $69,000 increase that I believe you're talking about is just contractual increases for all officers. It has nothing to do with a second school resource officer.
What was the number for the second school resource officer?
So to add a second school resource officer for next year,
Yeah.
half year, would be $31,500, something like that.
Thank you.
$31,000. But it's not included in this budget, or the budget that I was presenting tonight.
Chief, on the, I saw what Foxborough was talking about on the Regional Communications Center. It was gonna have an impact on their force, and I forgot the number of, was it 3 officers?
Yes.
We don't see anything like that happening?
No, because we have a desk officer. We always have.
So we should be fine.
We're the only department that has a desk officer. And the reason is, it's kind of been, every once in a while this becomes an issue, but people, you remember when the station closed, there are people that come into the station that need things. It's not just looking for, you know, people don't come in the station anymore looking for directions. Everybody's got it on their phone. They come in because they need assistance, you know. And we've always had a desk officer. These departments, it's funny you picked up on that, because that's going to be a substantial cost to the town of Foxborough, where we're not going to absorb that cost.
What was that issue there? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, on the Foxborough initial budget, I don't know where it's going. They added, or they're requesting 3 additional officers.
3 new police officers.
Supplement their budget based on the Regional Communication Center, the new one. I didn't know exactly what their issue was. I just saw they were requesting 3 officers because of the regionalization. So it sounds like we have it covered. They do something different, so there's no impact on our.
And also, I remember when the police station closed down back in 1991, we did a budget cut.
That's right.
Yep.
Right, we're here.
But,
We're in the basement.
whoa!
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Sorry to get here late. Peter was talking too much at Capitol. We have the library here tonight, who'd like to come up and give a presentation. One of the things that the library, I'm sure will talk to you about, is a requirement to be open 45 hours a week instead of 40. And in your packet, you do have information from the library. And also, they provided you with information on hours from other towns. I'll let Lee.
Good evening.
How you doing?
So does everyone have one of these adjusted award sheets from the MBLC?
Is this right here?
Yeah.
Last page.
So,
Awesome.
all right. So this is a needs-based budget for FY '20. Due to stronger library budgets across the state, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners voted last year to end the 80% accommodation for hours and materials. So this budget brings us up to 45 hours open per week, an increase of 12.5% per hours, in hours, and also in state aid. So that's in that sheet. If you take out the materials increase, the total request is under 11% higher compared to the 12% increase in hours. So we need to meet these requirements by FY21, or we will lose certification completely again. We don't want that to happen. Neighboring and comparable libraries are all meeting or exceeding the requirements, as you can see by, I think you might have this chart. Do you have this chart? So they have as many as 67.5 hours. So they have much larger budgets and larger staffs, and they are able to be open to the public many more hours per week. With this 45-hour open schedule, the public would have more access to the library, earlier openings and later closings, 6 days a week. In FY08, when we were fully funded by the town, we had 364 staff hours per week to be open 50 hours per week, which is to be fully certified. Our jobs have become more challenging, and every staff member is continually enhancing their skills to meet the increased demands of their job, as there are higher expectations on staff than in the past. The 45-hour budget proposal here is 284 staff hours per week. With the changes required by the state, the MBLC, and the minimum wage increases, contractual increases, and comparing wages to the comparable libraries, the board and salaries committee made these salary adjustments to retain the trained, qualified staff we are fortunate to have in Norton. Why we need more staffing hours? In order to be open to the public, we cannot have fewer than this number of staffing hours. A public library is open to all, and each day deals with large numbers of people needing assistance. For public and staff safety's sake, the board does not allow us to be open with fewer than 3 staff in the building. But in order to function well and meet the needs of the public, we need more staffing than that at most times. One person might be in the community room running a program, another might be in the children's department assisting a family, another in the computer area assisting patrons on public computers or with Wi-Fi, or using their own devices, or teaching them how to use our apps and services. There are frontline staff who wait on people, checking items in and out, doing ready reference, answering phones, assisting with technology. There are staff helping with faxing, copying, answering questions, retrieving materials from different areas of the library, waiting on patrons in person, or pulling items to send to other libraries to fill holds, or filling out patrons' holds on the shelves for them to pick up. And we are also constantly keeping an eye on the building and people and watching out for their safety, because it is a public building, and everyone and anyone comes in there. And there's a lot of nooks and crannies in that building. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, staff are working on ordering, unpacking boxes, labeling, processing, repairing, cataloging, and making items available to be borrowed by patrons. Supplies are paid for by the supplemental budget, but staff have to order and maintain everything from toilet paper to trash bags. And there are professional staff who work on planning, performing, hiring, and scheduling performers and running lifelong programs themselves. They work on the website and publicity for library services to programs. They work on policies and procedures. They deal with facility issues, which there have been so many this year. They work on budgets and keep statistics for the state and the library. They write reports and grants. They make collection development decisions. They answer informational questions by email, phone, or in person. They help patrons find materials in the library or through interlibrary loan. They move furniture and displays. They shovel. They keep up to date with invoices, requirements. They work on employee schedules and room schedules. We have 4 rooms, the community room, the Hills Conference Room, and 2 study rooms. And they manage all aspects of human resources, from advertising and hiring to training, supervising, and preparing payroll, which takes a huge amount of time, which is why we need to retain a trained staff. You may not see every employee, but every employee is working to keep the library open and vital to the community. Libraries in other towns may have more staff available, but we have to fulfill the same function with fewer hands. We're not complaining. I just want to make that right there. We are grateful, so grateful for the support that we receive from the town. We love serving the town and are proud of the vital role we play in the community. Does anybody have any questions on the budget?
No, you're saying 45 hours is going to be required, but your budget has 50 hours?
No, I did 3 budgets for the town manager. I did a 40, 45 hour, and 50. 45 is what we're presenting here. I did do a 50-hour one, but I think that we talked about maybe doing it gradually, getting up to 50.
I guess I'm not quite or confused a little about this, but when does this 45, when do we have to get to the 45?
We have to get there by FY '21, so technically, they did away with anyone new getting it.
Yeah.
They voted, they were gonna do away for everybody. Then they voted in October, and they gave us one extension.
So we don't have to do it, we don't have to do it for 20.
You do not have to do it until FY '21, but we thought it would be a nice way to gradually do it and then get up to 50.
You don't have to do it now. We have to do it by next year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. We have a 1 year to.
We have a 1-year grace period, and
Yeah.
that's it.
But people have been complaining about the hours because they see what other libraries are open, and they're like, why aren't you budgeted for that? And our supplemental budget, which, do you have the supplemental budget? They do? Okay.
Yep.
The supplemental budget is, it's down because the value of the trust is down, and the trust has also been used to fund major building repairs. I know that the town did the HVAC, and then we had to cover a pretty good portion of that as well. And we also replaced all the interior and exterior lights with LED lights. And right now, we're replacing the fire alarm system, which also had to be replaced. So between the lower value of the trust due to the economy and the drawdown for the building costs, they have fewer resources. And then our budget is being used to cover everything from the known costs like the audit, water, trash removal, contracts, insurance, and then the variable and unknown costs such as postage, supplies, electricity, fuel, grounds maintenance. And so with the trust down, and then we also have made a lot of policy changes that are patron-friendly, such as eliminating tutoring fees, and with the addition of the media drop, and we added automatic renewals to align with neighboring libraries, because people will just go elsewhere if they can't get it at our library. But all those combined mean that our income is down. So we have a lot of demands placed on it, and the income is down.
And we appreciate everything the town did for us with the HVA system.
Definitely.
That was a really big help. And then at the back end of that, the town building department had us do some extra work, which cost us around $40,000 that we picked up on our own.
Almost 50, I think.
And then some other things that did. So we took out some money out of the endowment to pay for that. Like I said, the alarm system was outdated. We needed that built up again. But now with the LEDs, the new HVAC, a new alarm system, and we just putting in a security system now. Things are up to date, and it's running well. It's less maintenance on their department to handle all these issues that we've done over the years. Calling up, and you're handling patrons at the same time. The heating system is now 50 degrees in the children's room. We can't have that. So we updated this stuff. They're working hard, and we don't want to lose anybody. They're trained, they're well-liked.
This is also FY18 at a glance. So the statistics comparing the other towns is from FY17, because that is the most recent figures that are available on the MBLC. So it's a little bit dated, but you can see how drastically the difference is between the funding.
When I looked at the numbers, I said somebody must have made a typographical error. It's a 29% increase. I've never seen any number like that before.
It's,
Well, you went from 409,000 to 529,000. That's 29%.
yeah, because this is what I was saying.
I understand that.
Well, one of the reasons is the materials was not included last year.
Okay.
And this year, with the increase in the budget, the materials will be $77,000. So that's why I said, if you take out that materials, if we end up getting that elsewhere and not it all coming from the town, it's really only 11% increase.
But the question I really wanted to ask is, what's the average salary increase for your permanent employees? Percentage. I was doing some mental calculations in my head, but I want to be sure I get the right number from you.
I don't have that figure. I don't have that figure. I know that based on the base wages, compared to other libraries, it's still far, far less.
Well, no, I'm not asking that. All I'm seeing is, I see one line item, it says $54,000, and then across it's $64,000, that's a $10,000 increase.
That was for the position and also for a contractual thing, a step, and to make that more in line.
That's why the percentages is what I'd like to see, what the number of percentages are. That would appear to be more than 10%. It's a $10,000 increase.
That's not the average. I think most of
No,
them.
I just picked that one out. I'll go down to the next one, that's a little bit less, that's $8,000 increase.
Part of this is because we have the change in the minimum wage rate too. So we're trying to keep ahead because these positions are.
Salaried employees, okay, so I'm sure they're making above $11 an hour.
Okay.
Is there extra hours?
Yeah, that's what.
Well, we work
Going to be.
nights, we work weekends, and this change
But do
will,
they work more than 40 hours a week?
well, if they're salary, sometimes they do have to. Like if
No,
there's,
I understand, I'm just saying, if that's the reason why there's such a big expansion and it's an extra hours, fine, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But if it's still the same number of hours they worked last year, when they were getting 54, now they're getting 64.
That position
That
went from being a reference librarian to the assistant director. We gave that person more duties, which incurred more time,
Okay,
but it became with more responsibility, so that's why we gave them more money.
how about
This-
the one below that? The one that went up $6,000?
The
what is it?
cataloger,
Yeah,
46.
I'm just going by the fixed
52.
employees.
that's also the administrative assistant, which that takes up a lot of time too. A lot of places have someone that does that. If you look at the number of hours, like I said, what we're asking for in hours is like 100 less than what we had in 2008, and our jobs are more complicated and more difficult than they were back then. For instance, this past year, we had the pop-up library when we had to close for the HVAC. So we had to move, physically ourselves, move 5,000 items into the community room to make it a pop-up library, and we had to have cataloging and processing off-site. We had to meet at Wheaton and different places to do all of our jobs, and my staff they've been troopers, they've gone through it all, and nobody has complained or,
Don't get me wrong, you're running a great library.
Thank you.
I'd just like to understand the percentage increases.
Thank you,
Salary.
Peter.
Just the percentages. So
Yeah.
that it matches up with the rest of the town.
I think mine does.
So
Yeah.
the increases are not anything to do with going from 40 hours to 45 on a base?
Some of it is.
Some of it is for the people that are hourly, but the ones that
So-
are salary, no.
So one of them, it includes a 20-hour library assistant. That's not a position we have right now. We have, that person is working maybe 12 hours a week. And if you have people, a lot of libraries only have people that are working full-time or working at least 20 hours. It's a different, they're available so much more in their consistency. And it allows for more cross-training. So that person will be able to help with things that they can't do now, such as interlibrary loan or technology assistance. So we'll share. We believe in cross-training. So my assistant, I've trained to do my job. There's everything that we do, we cross-train so that if somebody's not there, somebody else can do it. And those are skills.
Mike, what's the average increase for the town employees this year, on average?
Probably 3% if you figure the 2% plus someone moves up a step.
Okay. I mean, that's where we'll be looking at, really, realistically,
Yeah,
so.
but there were increases, adjustments in the fall session of the town meeting too. So if you combine, I think that we're still on target for that.
We're also trying to creep up on the minimum wage going to $15 an hour. I hate to go from 12 to 15 and ask you for that money right up front, so we're trying to not get ahead of it too much, but trying to, in steps.
Yep.
Because we do have some people that are making minimum wage.
Just,
Not on your list.
Mike,
Not on your list, you know.
department heads, probably 4%.
Okay.
You have nobody making the minimum wage. Not on
I
this.
think that he means that each year, when the minimum wage goes up, we want to keep ahead of that,
Okay, I can understand that.
because these are,
You'd make more than you could make if you were at McDonald's.
yeah, I mean, they have a lot on their plate,
Good
I
point.
understand that.
yeah.
I understand that. I don't see anything wrong with the numbers there.
But you're above minimum wage.
Yeah.
Although I think I did put in, no, I didn't. I think for the 50 hour, I'd put in for another page. We used to have 3 pages. Now we have 1 page that works 9 hours a week. She's the only one that doesn't work nights and weekends. But we used to have 3 pages, and now it's 1 page and volunteers who put away every item that we circulate.
Do you have any idea forecasting state aid, like in the
Well,
next 2 years?
I think that we put that on our supplemental budget, that, did we put the income there? We estimated approximately 21,100 for next year, but it could be more, because this year it was around 18 to 19,000. So it wouldn't be less. It should be 12.5% higher than what we had last year, so.
And a lot of it depends on what the state wants to give reimbursements for. But hopefully, it's been steady, so we're,
I mean, is it based on, I noticed some other towns you referenced, they have 67 hours. Are there,
Yeah.
so is there
And the
aid?
funny thing is, that their aid is only based on, well, their requirements is based on their population. So if someone is open, say Situate has a population of 18,399. So they're our same range, so they should be open 50 hours a week, they're open 67 and a half. Seekonk is a population of 14,691. They only have to be open 40 hours a week, and yet they're open 60 hours a week. So,
for us to get the 100% reimbursement from the state, we have to be open a minimum of 50 hours per week.
And then-
no, to get the maximum state aid.
To maximum
Yeah,
state aid.
Yeah, 50 hours a week and meet the 15% materials requirement,
And
which
that-
the materials requirement is
And
mandated.
that's the ceiling.
That's to get the maximum, yeah.
Right, if you went, it doesn't.
No, they do, but they do this because the demand is there, and they're meeting patron demand.
They don't get any more money from the state
No.
once they reach that top threshold.
And as you can see, some of these libraries, obviously, they have, their budgets are triple what our budgets are, and they also have larger endowments and everything, so that's why they can have more hours. So,
If I looked at the library as just a retail operation, are there good days and bad days? Like days where it's empty?
Not empty. We did do,
Or
because,
hours?
well, we can track the circulation per hour, and we can track we do track the number of people in the building per hour, the number of people who attend programs, and we did a comparison, because I was trying to figure out if we would add 45, be open 45 hours, be open 50 hours, where would that need be filled best? And I think most libraries open at 10, a lot of libraries, so we would think if we opened at 9:30, that would meet a need that a lot of people, they're waiting by the doors when we open up the doors. And we could stay open until 7:30, so people who can't make it, commuters and things like that. And the numbers are lower on Fridays and Saturdays everywhere, not just us, which is why we have shorter days those days. Then I may think about switching to be open Wednesday evening because the circulation is higher, but that also may be happening because we have story time every Wednesday, and that draws a lot of people who take out stacks of books. So I don't know if it's worth that switch. People tend to like consistency, and so I want to have it open the same time every day like we have been. We've been open, even when we were cut 40%, we were open 6 days a week. We were open Saturday, shorter days, but we were open at 10 o'clock every day, and so we've been doing 10 to 7, 10 to 7, 10 to 3, 10 to 7, 10 to 2, 10 to 2. So I would like to extend it a little bit earlier, a little bit later, those days, and then if we get to 50, then maybe 9 to 8. So, which is technically a little bit more than 45, but I want the consistency.
Some of the busier days are when the community room is being used by somebody, the town, the programs that they have. They have to come in and they have to set everything up first, physically set everything up. For 100 people to show up for 4 hours in the community room, they'll break everything down while there are still people waiting at the desk to be helped.
Sometimes we have 4
So-
programs in one day in that room, in our community room. And we have things going on in the conference room and in the library, and yeah, there's a lot, so.
And then you have like the blood drives and things like that, that they take up the whole room. Granted, they set up, but they still have to maintain all this activity while it's going on.
And that's when we have more facilities issues, like with the restrooms and things like that. Although we did just update our restrooms so that they all have a changing table. The men's and the family restroom also have changing tables now, finally. So,
Not, believe it or not, that helps a lot with a lot of the stay-home dads or someone that comes in with a small child, and there's no changing table, and they have to say, can I use the woman's room?
yeah, so we did just
So-
change that. And the family restroom used to be a staff restroom, and we changed that to be a family restroom to meet patron demand. So, and so far, everyone's been really pleased.
And they've been maintaining things. The community room now has safety locks on it in case there's some sort of an incident.
That was after the active shooter training. We made some adjustments for safety.
Like that, not like the school. The school, you have to ring a bell to come in. The library, anybody can walk in the door. It's a safe, we think it's a safe place. We want to keep it that way.
And we just added cameras that tomorrow they're going to be aligned and have a new access point IP address at the front entrance and the back entrance, which we did not have security cameras. So that was a cable grant. Doesn't cost anything. We
Yeah,
do
we're trying
try to get money.
Grassroots are trying to get as much money as we can from other places too. Fundraisers, the Friends of the Library have been a tremendous help. And Lee's grant writing skills have been second to none.
Yeah, this is $34,080 in donations, state aid, and grants last year, so.
And once in a while, we write letters to some of these bigger companies that are moving into Norton. And see what we
Not
can,
enough of those.
We can hope. I'm an optimist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay.
Next is Board of Health. First item under the Board of Health is a reserve fund request. They have nothing in their budget for this, but they had a house that was condemned recently, and they had to board the house up. And $1,865 is what we're looking for in a reserve fund transfer to cover that cost.
Any questions? Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we transfer $1,865 to Department to account 001-510-570-575 under FinCom Reserve.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing, hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous?
And their request in their budget reflects what that reserve fund transfer. If you look under their professional services line item, they're looking to add $2,000 to the budget so that if it ever happens again, there will be money in there to do that. and there's no new positions or increased hours. The budget is just for the salaries is the contractual increases, and that, as I said, was the main request for their expense increase. Public health nurse is staffed by the one public health nurse, and she's maintaining the same amount under charges and expenditures, and salary just contractual. Also, the health agent who has managed our grant program where we were able to obtain charging stations, a Chevy Bolt, which is an all-electric vehicle, and 3 Chevy Volts. And as part of that, with the 4 vehicles, they're coming up. This is the last year of the 3-year lease agreement on those, and he's looking to purchase those 4 vehicles. And he did speak with Capital tonight, and is going to get back to them with some, see if he can get some better numbers on the purchase of those vehicles. Right now, the buyback on the 3 Volts is $55,000, and the Bolt is $23,664. So he was working with some good car negotiators tonight, and hopefully can go back and see if he can get a little reduction in those. And then the last item is the sanitary landfill. This is the monitoring that we have to do. This year they have to do some more testing, so it's $13,000 is the request. This is on Hill Street, on the Cap landfill. They have to do testing quarterly to check for any escaping gases, and eventually it'll hopefully go away, but we're trying to get them to have us test less often.
So why did it go up so much from this year to next?
They have some more testing that the state requires them to do every so often, and this is one.
Every 3
Right.
years. Great.
Mike, I'm sorry, how often does that testing go up? I see 17 and 18 are pretty flat.
Right.
So is it every X years?
It's-
Was it 3?
It's every 3 years that they come out and have some requirements for something else that has to be tested for. I forget what it is off the top of my head. Okay. The next budget is for the dog officer, and under the salaries, it's just, once again, the dog officer, Brian Plant, and his assistant. And increases are contractual. Total on the salaries is just under $2,000. And on his expenses, he has a slight increase in repair maintenance of buildings, and also his propane and natural gas. And as he said tonight, the building seems like it's brand new, but it's 18 to 19 years old now, so, and he has some maintenance issues that he has to deal with, so. But with that, that's only, that's about $1,000 increase in his expense budget for the year.
Is the propane natural gas in the assumption that we're at a low and it's just gonna go up?
We're actually, our bid is up this spring, so we'll see. Like our electric, we were at 8 cents for 3 years, and we had bid just at the right time, so we'll see what happens with the gas.
And you joined Surge with propane? Is that part of the?
They don't have propane, no. Just oil, gas, and diesel. And then Brian had 3 requests that he brought to Capitol tonight. One issue is he's in need of some fencing work to replace gates at the dog pound. Obviously, depending on what kind of a dog is in there, they can get aggressive, and there's been a concern that they're damaging the bottom of the fences now after 18, 19 years, and some dogs are going to get caught underneath there. So he's got an estimate of 12 new gates, $4,075. And also, he's had issues with aggressive dogs actually eating the woodwork around the windows and damaging the windows. And so he wants to replace 6 windows with energy-efficient windows that'll hopefully help him on that natural gas and propane. And also 1 door in the kennel for $3,960. And then Keith was working with him on paving the driveway. Keith obtained an estimate of $15,000 to do the work on that. The driveway in there, Brian said, it was dirt, and then they tried to use stone dust, and now all the vehicles driving out of there, anyone that goes in there, comes out, their car's just covered with stone dust. So he's looking to see if Capitol approved those 3 items for his improvements. And town clerk. And as people were preparing their budgets, the directive this year was, I told them, anyone that thinks they need something, put it in there. It doesn't mean you're going to get it by the time we do the final, but at least so you could see, what the departments felt they needed. Now, in the town clerk, it's staffed 2 full-time, as it is now, and 1 part-time. And salary increases are contractual, no increase in hours. And under goods and services, one of the items is her full-time staff person is working towards becoming an assistant town clerk and receive the certification. So Lucia has put in there an increase of $2,000 in the line items for education and conferences so that she can attend the conferences that are needed, or education that's needed to obtain her assistant town clerk certification. And also a slight increase in memberships. And Lucia spoke with General Code, who does the upgrades now on all our zoning and town bylaws that are all digital now. And they had told her in anticipation of any zoning bylaws or charter bylaws to put an extra 4,500 in that account this year. Whether there is anything that will require that, we don't know, but just, they asked her to put that in there to budget it. That's it. And conservation, I know that Jennifer, one of Jennifer's concerns is that she's been going through part-time clerical staff because people are looking for full-time work and they don't want to work part-time, so she put in for a full-time clerk instead of a part-time clerk, so that's the main increase in the salary account.
Do you support that?
I told them to put it in, but we'll see. It is a good argument, and obviously, with the development that's going on in building, planning, conservation are seeing a lot more work, but it all depends on what we have for funds to sustain it.
All permitting is online now, Mike?
Yes, it is. Not all permitting. Right now, building is online, and then we're gonna move, once that gets ironed out, then we'll move on with the other departments. But you can go on now, building and fire, and then eventually we're gonna add as we go along. But you can go on the town website, and you can go in and look at if some work's being done on your street and you're wondering what it is, you can go in and look up the permit and you can see it. And contractors now will sign up for permits right from work, on their phone, whatever. They won't even have to come in, they can pay online.
I did it. It's fairly simple.
And he was very willing.
Not very willing.
I know that one, go ahead.
Onto the maintenance and conservation area.
Mhm.
That's a big jump, that's about $5,000.
She's looking to do this year is signage out on the conservation areas, clean up a lot of the trails, and also we have Camp Edith Reed now that will require mowing during the summer, so there is some increase in those areas.
Mike, will Camp Edith Reed be opened for use shortly?
Yeah. Next, when I go over her capital, you'll see that what's in there is for the demo of the house out front, and then the pool will be filled. And Southeastern Regional is actually going to help out with some work on the bunkhouse. So hopefully this summer it will be open and ready for use.
We feel confident?
I do.
All right, because we buy it and we close it up tight, it doesn't look good.
No, we're committed to it, and we're going to have internet brought out to the bunkhouse so that we'll have security out there. We did have some issues with people breaking in there, and so we'll be putting security cameras out there and be able to keep an eye on it. And I would expect this summer it'll be in use.
Okay, thank you.
And that intercapital request, you can see from what we just talked about, the filling of the in-ground pool, engineering to design a parking lot, of course, meeting stormwater regulations, and then paint for the interior, kitchen, and trim. So we'll just have to buy the paint, and she has Southeastern that's coming in to do the work. The exterior, same thing, 10 gallons. Paint supplies, the rollers, the trays, everything else. And then some wood materials to replace some of the wood that's rotted on the building.
Mike, on that house that was there, I thought the last time we were talking, there was potential reuse for jacking that up, taking it away, but I think the fire department made sure that.
Well, no, we tried, they didn't actually burn it, they just had barrels inside with smoke in them, but, fires in the barrels, but no, we tried, but
Okay.
no takers. That's it. Some of the material I gave you, just the cherry sheet. I guess the net is we have about $95,000 based on that original cherry sheet of extra state aid. And the revenue and expenditure sheet, that's just a quick run. There's still a lot that have to be adjusted on there. We don't have the actual water and sewer numbers yet for the indirects, and so we'll be working on that. We did actually get today that figure for Southeastern Regional is the assessment that Norton is going to be charged next year, and we're still waiting to get Bristol Aggie to firm up their number.
You think they'll hit us with the $100,000 that they didn't hit us with last year?
I think they will this year.
Yep. Mike, just general question?
Yep.
On that incident that had to open in Wheaton, that they finally found out what was going on there, is there any potential to recoup any of the costs for the fire and police going over there those times to offset our charges based on what actually happened?
Yeah, I don't know. That'd have to, if they were going to do some sort of police settlement with the family, that might be something that could be worked out.
Is that something that's done? Or it's all,
Not that often. It's either a criminal charge. It's not like it's a civil, but.
all right. And that building that they're building over there, does that just go into the normal Wheaton, so we shouldn't expect any kind of property tax or?
No, that, we won't on that, because that's going to be a dorm.
Okay, so the only thing we see is the regular
Only
building fees?
the building permit fees, and then the only thing that we receive tax from Wheaton for are properties that aren't used for education purposes. There are some that we do get taxes, but not a dorm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And let me know if if the agenda is okay, just drop me an email for the next meeting, or if you need anything added, let me know.
Bill?
Yeah. I don't have that.
Yes, sir.
Do you have that sheet that everybody has to? Thank you. Normally, in the fall, we've sent around a sheet authorizing myself and the vice chair to sign, and Mike in our absences. And I think really because we didn't have a consistent minute taker, this never actually got done. Do I have to take a vote on this?
Sign it, yeah.
Just sign it.
We just sign it.
pass it around.
Just pass it around, we all sign it. Once fellows say it, we agree.
So, we're just gonna pass this around. Hopefully, everybody is in agreement. Are there any old minutes that were either voted as amended or yet to be voted? Because
I have February 28th, or November 28th voted as accepted as amended.
Okay.
And that's just
I
got
have December
a spelling change.
19th.
So, again, yours were, Aaron?
November 28th?
Walter, you were,
December 19th.
who did town meeting?
I did. I don't know the date that was, but that's before town meeting.
Do you have them?
I don't.
All right.
Working on it.
That was the October one?
No, you did.
So who did the January
Well, it was-
special?
You did special town meeting.
Not, yeah, the
That's what I
special,
meant,
the last
special.
one that we just had.
Okay,
Yeah. that's what we
okay. I think Amy had a set,
Amy's got one from October.
yeah. So,
I mean, fall town meeting was that the 15th, Monday the 15th?
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, so it could have been 8th, or whatever dates we met prior to that. When did we stop meeting?
You know, we got electricity back here.
I'd have to look at the, 'cause I thought, didn't you have a set?
8th was Columbus Day, so I think we met that day. We met on the 10th.
Nope. Okay. And Pat, you're kind of reviewing what's been submitted, what hasn't, so we can,
Right, I have a list of what is not posted. And you said to wait and see if anybody here
Right.
had.
yep.
So
Yep, so
how
we
do we
have-
find out who's got what?
So we have, if you want to pass them to Pat.
I'll come to you.
Thanks, because I'm gonna fall.
Thank you. While I'm up.
Super. November 28th, you said February 22nd. All right,
That was somebody did, but that was.
okay.
Well done.
So,
Keys to the kingdom.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you. Now, do these need to be signed? Are they approved as written?
Yes, so is that my signature, your signature, their signature, somebody's signature?
Minutes approved by committee on such and such a date and the signature, does it say?
That'd be mine.
You sign
That's
them.
yours, yeah.
You sign them all usually, after we approve them.
You and the note taker.
Yeah.
That was typically Kaylee.
Right,
Again,
Note taker is-
I've never gotten minutes from Kaylee, so I've never seen the process. Am I supposed to fill that or just sign?
No, you fill in, you should have had that in, filled in.
so,
So that,
Does this amount be approved to account here, date it, and that's it.
Secretary had already
There you
said.
go, so,
Yes.
actually, so you, right, say approved,
Yes.
January.
Yeah, we voted for that.
Heroes have to sign these requests.
Right.
1865. Transfer reason, okay, and then the account.
If it's a tongue twister. Oh.
Well, that's simple. Hers is a keyboard smash.
Yes, I know. Good luck, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I think I
I just shot it out of my,
Throw it at
yeah.
That's how we adapt.
Anybody want to take a guess as to when these were approved?
45 hours.
You want to leave it alone, and I'll go through the minutes?
Well, you signed it, right?
Move it up another 5,
then you just
everybody
leave it.
getting 50.
Yeah. Try to figure that out.
They're busy, I grant you that.
Really?
So I used to.
Yeah, they're doing a
And the
good
mic's
job.
on?
No, for the shows.
I've got a,
Which one's that?
Well, it was, yeah, and it's hard to know
yeah.
who's gonna do what. Yeah, the others are salaried, but if the place is open longer, you know they're gonna be there longer, even though it's not by an hourly rate. So, yeah, it's, mhm.
And I sign,
Oh, that's right, we do have.
We've seen this before.
it every year, though? I know.
do I sign?
Well, what they are, we're on the whole.
The upcoming agendas?
Other places, and they lose people to other places. And they just feel we've got good people who are competent and licensed, they should be paying.
Yeah.
Everybody feels that way.
Yeah.
But ever since we got defranchised there for a couple of years, you know, and everything sort of fell apart.
Certification.
And this also goes,
Just put them into the shells.
cool. So we have no minutes from the last meeting. Anything else that anybody wants to discuss?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Next meeting?
Next meeting is next Monday.
Next Monday.
So who made that motion?
So, at this point, it's every Monday in March, unless that changes. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor? Unanimous.